My name is Aaliyah Johnson, and I never thought I'd be sharing something like this. But after what happened to me, I can't stay silent. On the 4th of February 2023, I died, but my soul went into another realm. What I saw and experienced changed everything I knew about life, death, and what's beyond. I saw heaven. I met Jesus himself, and he showed me heaven. But it is what happens later during my journey. He told me something about white people I will never forget. I was given another chance, and I've made it my mission to tell what I heard to as many people as I can. So if you are here with me today, please pay close attention. If you had asked me a year ago who I was, I would have said, I'm a teacher. I help kids find a way out. And that would have been true, but it wouldn't have been the whole truth. I grew up in a neighborhood where struggle wasn't just a word, it was our reality. My grandmother raised me after my mom got caught up in things I don't like to talk about. Granny was the kind of woman who believed in God so deeply, you'd think she had his direct number. She used to tell me, baby, people will let you down, but God won't. Keep your heart right. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But the world I lived in, it made that hard. You see, I always thought if you worked hard and kept your head down, life would pay you back. But then you watch your best friend get caught in gang violence, or see your students come to school hungry because there ain't no food at home. And you start to wonder if anyone up there is really paying attention. I mean, how could God be good and let things like that happen? And I'll be honest, growing up black in America, I carried a chip on my shoulder. Not out of hate, but frustration. I'd walk into meetings and see my white colleagues laughing about weekend getaways while my kids were out here dodging bullets. Sometimes I'd wonder, do they even see what we're dealing with? I tried not to judge, but part of me resented the ease I thought they lived with, like life had handed them a different set of rules. But even with all that swirling inside me, I loved my students. They were my reason. If I could just help one of them break out of the cycle, it would be worth it. I thought I had everything figured out until the day my world stopped. And when I say stopped, I don't mean things slowed down. I mean everything I thought I knew was flipped upside down. It was supposed to be just another Saturday. I was setting up chairs at the community center for our mentorship program, making sure everything was perfect for the kids. Then, out of nowhere, a sharp pinch gripped my chest. I paused, thinking it was nothing, but the pinch grew heavier, like someone pressing a boulder against my ribs. My breath quickened. I tried to brush it off, but dizziness hit me like a wave. The room spun. I reached for my phone, hands trembling, but my fingers wouldn't cooperate. What's happening? Panic surged through me. My knees gave out. I hit the floor hard, vision blurring as light stretched into hazy streaks. Voices echoed distantly, but I couldn't make out words. Then, amidst the chaos, a hand grabbed mine. Warm, steady. Through hazy eyes, I saw her, the white nurse from the community clinic. Her face was laced with concern. "Stay with me," she urged. I wanted to hold on, to speak, but darkness closed in. My final thought was a desperate plea. God, don't let this be the end. And then, nothing. Before we dive into this incredible journey, I want to encourage you to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's create a community where we can uplift and support each other on this journey of life. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Darkness. That's all there was at first. Not just like when you close your eyes, it was deeper than that. Like I wasn't anywhere. No sound, no weight, no me, just nothing. And then, like the faintest echo, I felt something. Not physically, but somewhere beyond that. I wasn't sure if I was floating or falling. Time didn't exist. Seconds, minutes, hours, I couldn't tell. Then it started. A sensation like being gently pulled, as if some invisible current was guiding me through the void. I wanted to fight it, but how do you fight when you don't even have a body? There was no heartbeat, no breath, no skin, just me, stripped down to whatever a soul is. And that's when I saw it. A flicker at first, like a candle miles away in an endless black room. But it grew, bright, warm, inviting. The pull got stronger, drawing me toward it. Part of me wanted to run, but where would I go? Another part, deeper, older, felt like it knew this light, like it was calling me home. As I got closer, warmth washed over me, seeping into places I didn't know were cold. It wasn't just heat, it was comfort. Like every hurt, every fear was being gently soothed away. My mind, which had been spinning with panic, quieted. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't scared. But just as peace began to settle, something changed. From the edges of the darkness, shapes began to emerge. Not from the light, but away from it. Shadows, long, twisting, and moving in ways that didn't seem possible. They didn't walk, they slithered, crept, reached. No eyes. But I felt them looking at me, studying me. And then I heard it. Whispers. Dozens. No, hundreds of voices. Hissing words I couldn't understand. Or maybe didn't want to understand. They swirled around me, circling like vultures over a carcass. The warmth of the light was still ahead, but these shadows, these things, were between me and it. One of them reached out, brushing against whatever I was now. It was like plunging into ice water, except the cold wasn't just outside, it invaded. Memories I didn't even know I had started flashing. Every mistake, every harsh word I'd spoken, every moment of resentment I'd buried deep. Especially the bitterness, the anger I thought I'd justified. Faces from my past flashed, teachers who ignored me, cops who gave me that look, white classmates who joked about things they didn't understand. The shadows seemed to feed on it, like my anger was gasoline on their fire. I wanted to pull away, to scream, but I had no voice, no lungs. All I had was thoughts and fear, pure, suffocating fear. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, echoing in ways that bent reality. Words twisted into accusations. You held on to it. You judged. You resented. It's yours. You brought this. My mind reeled. No, I thought. I'm a good person. I helped people. I cared for my students. But what about your heart? The whisper wasn't outside. It was inside me, my own voice turning against me. I tried to move toward the light, to push past them, but the shadows grabbed hold, pulling me backward. The warmth began to fade, replaced with a chilling emptiness. My thoughts spiraled. Is this it? Is this what I deserve? Then boom! Like a thunderclap without sound, a force exploded outward. The shadows recoiled, hissing and shrieking, melting back into the darkness. And in their place, the light surged, brighter, closer, overwhelming. I was no longer being pulled. I was being embraced. It surrounded me, seeping into every crack of fear, every stain of regret. There were no words to describe it. Peace, love, warmth. Those words sounded too small. This was like standing in the presence of everything I never knew I was missing. And then I saw him. Standing at the center of the light was a figure, not just radiant, but the source of the radiance. His face was clear, yet somehow impossible to fully grasp, as if every feature held layers of meaning beyond human understanding. His eyes, my God, his eyes. They looked straight into me, not at me, into me. And what I felt wasn't judgment or wrath. It was love. Fierce, pure, undeniable love. Not because I earned it, because it just was. Aaliyah, he said, hearing your name spoken in a voice that seems to hold galaxies is indescribable. It wasn't just sound, it was truth resonating through me. I wanted to fall, to kneel, to do something, but I had no body to move. I just was. I don't understand, I managed to think, but somehow it was like speaking. You've carried so much, he said, stepping closer. Pain, anger, questions that weighed on your soul. Tears, if I could cry, I would have welled inside me. Why? Why me? Why show me this? His gaze softened. Because there are things you need to see, things you've chosen not to. I thought about the shadows, the bitterness they'd latched onto. Was that what he meant? You've judged, he continued gently, not just others, but yourself. and you've held on to things that have kept you from truly understanding the fullness of love. Love. That word hit me harder than any shadow. Had I really closed myself off that much? I wanted answers, needed them, but something in his tone made me pause. Like, I wasn't ready yet. Like there was more I had to confront before the truth would be revealed. Then the light shifted, not fading, but changing. Images began to form around us, swirling like smoke turning into glass. Faces appeared, people I knew and people I didn't. Some I recognized instantly, others were strangers, but their eyes, they held something familiar. I turned to him, questions burning in me. What is this? Who are they? His gaze held mine. This is part of what you must see. The truth isn't always easy, but it sets you free. The truth, my heart, or whatever part of me was left, tightened. There was a weight to his words, like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing you have to jump, but terrified of the fall. What truth was he talking about? Why did it feel like everything I thought I knew was about to be shattered? And why? Why did I have the sinking feeling that the answers would challenge everything I believed? About myself, about the world, and about people I thought I understood. Especially about them. The images swirling around me sharpened, turning into scenes that felt too vivid, too real to be anything but my own life. Except, I wasn't just watching, I was reliving. The first scene was me, standing in the teacher's lounge at school. I saw myself leaning against the counter, arms crossed, half listening as a group of my white colleagues laughed about their weekend at some fancy vineyard. They weren't being cruel, just chatting, but I remembered how I'd felt in that moment. Must be nice, I had thought. Weekend getaways while my kids are out here struggling to afford lunch. Standing there now outside of myself, the bitterness was so loud. It had seeped into my thoughts like a slow poison. And yet, in the moment, it had felt justified. I turned to the figure beside me, Jesus, my voice trembling. But it wasn't fair. How could I not feel that way? He didn't respond right away. His gaze stayed fixed on the scene, calm but piercing. Finally, he spoke. Feelings are real, Aaliyah. But what you do with them, that's what matters. Before I could reply, the scene shifted. Now I was at a parent-teacher conference. A white mother sat across from me, nervously twiddling her fingers while I explained her son's failing grades. I remembered this moment. Her son, Jake, had been skipping assignments, showing up late. Back then, I thought she was making excuses. If she really cared, he wouldn't be acting out, I judged silently. Watching myself now, I saw the subtle tightness in my expression, the wall I'd put up before she even opened her mouth. Jesus turned to me, his voice gentle but firm. Do you see her heart now? I looked closer, and suddenly I felt her exhaustion, her worry, her deep love for her son, despite her own struggles. She wasn't dismissive. She was overwhelmed. My chest tightened. I didn't know, I whispered. I didn't want to know. Jesus nodded. Sometimes it's easier to hold on to assumptions than to open your heart to someone else's pain. The weight of those words settled on me like a blanket. I wanted to look away, to escape this parade of uncomfortable truths, but I couldn't. Not now. The next scene hit even harder. I was back in college, standing outside a dorm room, arms flailing, arguing with my white roommate. I remembered this fight vividly. She had made some offhand comment about my hair, something she claimed was just curiosity. I'd exploded, tired of being treated like some exhibit. You don't get to ask me that, I had snapped. I'm not here to educate you. Watching it unfold again, my anger was raw, fiery, but beneath it, I saw it now. There was hurt, exhaustion, years of microaggressions piling up until one comment became the spark that lit the whole pile ablaze. Jesus' voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. Your pain is valid, he said, but what you did with it, was that love? I wanted to defend myself, to say it wasn't fair, that she should have known better. But something inside me broke. I sank to my knees, if you can call it that, in a place where bodies aren't bodies and covered my face. I was so tired of being hurt, I choked. I didn't know how to let go. He knelt beside me, this being of unimaginable light, yet so close. His hand rested on my shoulder, radiating warmth. Letting go isn't about saying the pain was okay. It's about freeing yourself from what the anger does to you. Tears of guilt, of relief, flooded me. I thought I was standing up for myself, I whispered. You can stand for truth without letting bitterness claim your heart, he replied gently. The scenes shifted again, but this time, they weren't from my life. They were theirs. White faces, people I'd glared at in traffic, strangers I'd rolled my eyes at in grocery stores. That white nurse, the one who held my hand when I collapsed. Her life unfolded before me. Late nights working double shifts, a disabled son at home, and still, she'd offered me kindness without hesitation. Then came faces I didn't recognize, people who had held prejudices against me, yet I saw their why. Upbringings filled with fear, misinformation, wounds passed down like family heirlooms. Not excuses, but stories. Jesus' voice echoed softly. Everyone's carrying something, Aaliyah. Hurt people. Hurt people. I swallowed hard. But it's not just about me, is it? No, he said. It's about all of you, choosing walls or bridges. That's when he said something that floored me. You judge them for not seeing you, but how often did you truly see them? His words pierced deeper than any accusation ever could. I thought back to all those moments I'd shut down, closed off, built walls under the guise of self-protection. And in doing so, I'd missed people. Real, flawed, beautiful people. My mind raced. But what about injustice? Racism is real. Am I supposed to just ignore that? Jesus' gaze was steady. Truth doesn't require bitterness. Stand against injustice, yes, but never let hate have a home in your heart. Justice without love becomes vengeance, and vengeance only breeds more pain. The weight of those words, I can't explain it. It was like a dam broke inside me, a flood of realizations, regrets, and release. And yet, beneath it all, love. Not just from him, but the kind of love I realized I was made for. The kind that sees people beyond color, beyond mistakes, straight to the soul. The light around us pulsed gently. You asked for answers, he said, but what you needed was understanding. I shook my head slowly. I didn't know how closed off I was. And now you do, he said. So what will you do with it? That question lingered in the air, thick with meaning. I looked back at the images, people I judged, resented, misunderstood. And in that moment, I didn't feel anger. I felt something that both humbled and healed me. Compassion. Real, raw, earth-shaking compassion. But even as that realization settled, I sensed something more. Something bigger than just my own journey. A truth beyond myself. A truth that was waiting to be revealed. Jesus glanced toward the horizon of that radiant place. There is still more to see. My heart, if I still had one, tightened. Whatever was coming next, it wasn't just about me anymore. Something about the world, something about all of us. And I knew, without him even saying it, that what came next would challenge not just my heart, but every belief I thought was unshakable. The next thing I knew, I was gasping for air, chest burning, lungs aching, as fluorescent hospital lights flooded my eyes. Voices swirled around me, doctors, nurses, but all I could think about was him, the light, the truth he showed me. Tears slipped down my cheeks, not from pain, but from understanding. Everything looked different now, felt different. The bitterness that used to grip me, it was like a weight had been lifted. I thought about that nurse, the one who held my hand before I slipped away. I had resented so many things she represented, yet she was the hand that pulled me back. Days passed, but the experience burned in me like fire. I couldn't keep this to myself. People needed to hear, not just about heaven, but about the love that transcends race, resentment, and pride. And That's why I'm telling you this now, because time is short and love, real love, can't wait.